We gotta sign something?
You're gonna have to sign something. And so we're going to do it this way, where y'all can, this is the oath that you must take, before, being a council person. I do solemnly swear that I will well and truly perform the duties of council member of the city of Jasper, and that I will support and defend the charter thereof, as well as the Constitution and the laws of the state of Georgia and of the United States of America, so help me God. Okay? You sign it, see?
I read it or this thing?
Sign it. I read it to you.
I appreciate it.
With that, you assume your position.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. Lonnie, would you deliver the invocation, please? Or Dr. Proctor, would you like to lead us in pledge? We're gonna throw you right in the fire, but I believe it's probably been Allison's time tonight, so. But welcome to the city council.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Excited about it.
Council has a copy of the agenda. I believe we had something new to add, which would be item A, which might not be on the agenda that was sent out, but we need to deal with our liability, workman's comp insurance, and other insurance with Joe Walker. We put him as first item under new business. Would entertain a motion. Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hand. Thank you, council. The minutes of the last meeting, I think I see 3.
I'll start with the Monday, November 7th, 2016 regular council meeting. Mayor Weaver called the meeting to order promptly at 6 p.m. He requested Councilmember Jim Lane to give the invocation. Councilmember John Faust led the recital of the Pledge of Allegiance. Mayor Weaver stated that Councilmember Ennis Navy was not able to attend this council meeting. Mayor Weaver asked that the agenda be reviewed and approved by council. Councilmember Jim Looney made a motion to approve the agenda. Councilmember Tony Fountain seconded the motion. Motion carried unanimously. City Clerk Lisa Hoyle read the minutes of the October 10th, 2016 regular meeting. Councilmember Jim Looney made a motion to adopt the minutes with a change to correct the address of Murphy's Oil, USA. Councilmember Tony Fountain seconded the motion. Motion carried unanimously. Item A, under old business, Mayor Weaver recognized Chief Greg Lovell to address council regarding the noise complaints against Rocco's Pub. Chief Lovell stated that the city police had issued a total of 4 citations to Rocco's for violation of the city's ordinance. Chief Lovell stated that according to the city's ordinance, Chapter 26, Article 3, Section 26-56, the complaint must be filed by citizens of the city of Jasper, and that most of the complaints were from non-citizens. Chief Lovell stated Rocco's is in the process of trying to correct the problem and would be installing thicker glass in the windows to contain the noise. The chief also stated that none of the citations have been transferred to Superior Court. Mayor Weaver recommended that the words residing within the city limits be removed from the ordinance. Councilmember Jim Looney agreed and stated the same. Discussion followed. Mayor Weaver stated that this would be considered the first reading of this ordinance amendment. No action taken. Item B, under old business, Mayor Weaver recognized Sonny Underwood, Planning and Zoning Director, to present an alcohol license application to council for approval. He informed council that the owner of Murphy Oil USA, located at 1011 Noah Drive, had completed the application process and required advertising had been met. He stated that the background check had been received from the state since last meeting and that there were no disqualifying factors to prevent him from obtaining the alcohol license. He is now requesting that his application for a license to sell alcohol, beer and wine, by the package be approved. Councilmember Jim Looney made a motion to approve the license. Councilmember Tony Fountain seconded the motion. Motion carried unanimously. Item B, under new business, Mayor Weaver recognized Sonny Underwood, Planning and Zoning Director, to present an alcohol license application to council for approval. He informed council that the new manager of Walmart, located at 1100 Old Philadelphia Road, had completed the application process and the required advertising had been met. He stated that the background check had been received from the state and that there were no disqualifying factors to to prevent them from obtaining the alcohol license. He is now requesting that the application for a license to sell alcohol, beer and wine by the package be approved. Councilmember Jim Loney made a motion to approve the license. Councilmember Tony Fountain seconded the motion. Motion carried unanimously. Item C under new business, Mayor Weaver recognized Finance Director Lisa Hoyle to present the 2017 operating budget for council's review. Ms. Hoyle stated that the public hearing is on the budget would be held on November 14th, and hopefully adoption of the budget will occur on November 21st. Discussion by council followed, no action necessary. Item D under new business, Mayor Weaver recognized Finance Director Lisa Hoyle to discuss the purchase of the property located at 36 East Spring Street. Ms. Hoyle stated that the city would need to transfer the property to the Downtown Development Authority and have the property financed through them, as the city's general fund was not allowed to hold a note at the close of the city's fiscal year. Councilmember Jim Loney made a motion to allow the Downtown Development Authority to own the property and obtain financing, for which the city would be responsible for the payments on behalf of the authority. Councilmember Tony Fountain seconded the motion. Motion carried unanimously. Councilmember Jim Loney made a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussion of future real estate acquisitions, and Councilmember Tony Fountain seconded the motion. The meeting was closed. Councilmember Jim Loney made a motion to come out of executive session. Councilmember John Cross seconded the motion. The meeting was reopened. Following executive session, Mayor Weaver stated that the city is interested in obtaining a drilled well to use as additional water supply source. Mayor Weaver stated that the cost to do a pump test on the well would be $30,000 for a 14-day pump test supervised by our city engineer. Mayor Weaver entertained a motion for the acquisition of the well site and for the pump testing of the well. Councilmember Jim Loney made a motion to allow the city manager to negotiate the potential lease of the well site with the property owners. Councilmember John Faust seconded the motion. Motion passed unanimously. Councilmember Jim Loney made a motion to allow the city manager to get a pump test on the well, not to exceed $30,000. Councilmember John Faust seconded the motion. Motion passed unanimously. Economic Developer Jerry Natal gave a report to the city. Finance Director Lisa Hoyle gave a financial report for the month of October 2016. Lonnie Waters was not available to give the animal control report for the month of October 2016. Chief Greg Lovell gave a report of police activities for the month of October 2016. Chief Steve Roper gave a report of fire activities for the month of October 2016. Councilmember John Faust gave an update on statewide SA activities. Being no other business to come before council, Councilmember Jim Loney made a motion to adjourn the meeting. Council is scheduled to convene next at the regular, and that's, I need to change that. It should be at the public hearing to be held November 14th, 2016.
We'll consider that as read. We entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as read.
Motion to approve as read. Second.
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion. Being all in favor, vote by show of hands. Thank you, council.
I'm embarrassed to say that I think I put those next two meeting minutes in y'all's books, but I failed to put it in mine.
Tony,
So they're not even for us tonight. Thank you. Sorry about that. This meeting is for the public hearing, held on Wednesday, November 14th, 2016. And that's wrong. It should be Monday, November 14th. 2016. This is a public hearing. Mayor Weaver called the meeting to order at 6 p.m. Mayor Weaver opened the floor to comments and questions regarding the proposed 2017 operating budget. There were no public comments. Councilmember Jim Loney made a motion to adjourn. Councilmember Tony Fountain seconded the motion. Mayor Weaver adjourned the meeting. Council is scheduled to convene next at the call meeting on November 21st, 2016.
entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion to approve minutes as read. Second. Motion is second. Discussion. Being all for vote by show of hands. Thank you, council.
Called council meeting Monday, November 21st, 2016. Mayor Weaver called the meeting to order promptly at 6 p.m. He requested Councilmember Jim Loney give the invocation. Councilmember Ann Snavy led in the recital of the Pledge of Allegiance. Mayor Weaver asked that the agenda be reviewed and approved by council. Councilmember Tony Fountain made a motion to approve the agenda as presented, and Councilmember Ann Snavy seconded the motion. Motion carried by unanimous vote. Item A, under old business, Finance Director Lisa Holt presented the 2017 operating budget for council's approval and read the budget adoption resolution. Councilmember Ann Snavy made a motion to adopt the resolution as read and to adopt the 2017 budget as presented. Councilmember Jim Lee seconded the motion. Discussion followed. Following discussion, motion carried by unanimous vote. Mayor Weaver stated to make note that Councilmember John Faust was absent from the meeting. Being no other business to come before council, the meeting was adjourned. Council is scheduled to convene next at the regular meeting on December 5th, 2016.
Motion,
Move we accept the minutes as read.
motion to approve,
Second.
second, discussion. Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. Thank you, council. That was the third one, wasn't it?
That's it.
Under old business, noise ordinance, second reading, Mr. Pickett.
Yes, this will be the second reading of the change in the noise ordinance to hopefully ensure that we can control some of the loud noises that are going on in different locations. The current ordinance reads that it shall be unlawful for any person to make, willfully make, continue or cause to be made, or continue any excessive, unnecessary, and unusual loud noises which disturb the peace and quiet of any neighborhood, or which causes discomfort or annoyance to any reasonable person of normal sensitivity residing within the city limits. The ordinance will be changed to read as follows. It shall be unlawful for any person to willfully make, continue, or cause to be made, or continue any excessive, unnecessary, and unusual loud noise which disturbs the peace and quiet of any neighborhood, or which causes discomfort or annoyance to any reasonable person of normal sensitivity.
Okay. Entertain a motion.
Motion we accept this as second reading and change to the city ordinance.
Motion to approve the amendment to the noise ordinance. Motion is second, discussion.
You aware of what's going on?
Okay, again, for the record, the person who was complaining about excessive noise inside the city, per our ordinance, didn't live in the city, so we basically had a defense attorney's dream case that they could very easily throw this out because we didn't have our ordinance properly worded. This should solve that issue in the future. Any other discussion? Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. Thank you, council. Lisa, we'll leave that up to you to make sure it's changed with all the other locations. Okay, item B, under old business, property purchase update, East Spring Street property. Lisa?
We were just gonna update you of what occurred at the Downtown Development Authority meeting. They voted to move the property pile into their name so we could obtain a note through them. And they also, I put in your books the quotes we had for financing. They voted to accept the quote one from United Community Bank, which required a 20% down payment at a rate of 4.92%, and that would be a fixed rate for 10 years with a 10-year balloon with payments based on a 20-year payback.
Okay. Council does not need to make take any action. It's just no back to the council, because they already moved to let the development authority proceed. Under new business, liability, workman's comp insurance, and other insurance issues, Mr. Joe Walker. Good evening, Joe.
Good afternoon, good evening. Let me pass these to the right. Thank you.
Killing trees lately, Joe? Killing trees lately?
Not lately.
Making all these cars?
Mayor, Council. Ms. Hoyle and I had been working on the budgeting for the insurance for the coming year, and somehow we managed to hit right on target. We are going to stay with the flat filter people. They have the best pricing that we were able to obtain. The next best quote was One Beacon Insurance, which was 30% higher. So we are going to give you the premiums here. The only thing different from last year is we've got approximately 6 more vehicles than we had last year currently, and about 7 pieces of equipment that did not have. And we increased the building limits on each building 4% to run concurrent with inflation. And with that, the total premium came out at just around $130 for the umbrella, the auto, property, and liability.
And what was it last year for the record for the public?
112, right at 130.
And then we added director's liability, is that right?
Well, you got director's liability, but we increased and brought in an umbrella policy, which brought your limit up another $1 million.
Okay.
And the workers' comp, I was able to get 2 quotes there. One being the current carrier, which is by Tunis, and the second being a former carrier that had it before, and they were coming in at around a little over $3,000 for this. So with that, kind of decided if we want to stay with my Tunis or if we want to go back to the prior carrier for a premium $3,000 less.
What's your recommendation?
I recommend that we go back to the prior carrier because they are, they're really a good carrier. They do municipalities all the time. The current carrier, they're a good company, big company, but I think this illustrates that the prior carrier wants to get the account back, and frankly, I think their loss control is a little better.
How's that going to affect our existing issues?
One effect
Yeah.
is
They'll
those
carry it
carriers
back.
will carry, they'll continue to do what they've got to
We
do.
won't
That's
have a loss
statutory.
of coverage or for employees or anything.
No. That's statutory coverage, and they cannot alter from that whatsoever.
Any questions, council? So, Joe, give me a form of motion that I'd like to have one, or Jim, you could, or someone could try it. Motion to go back to Joe's recommendation.
Let me make sure I understand.
Right.
The prior carrier is $3,000 less.
$3,000.
And the name of the company again?
The public,
Okay, the prior carrier was,
Joe, this was a test.
I didn't think I attached a copy of it. Here, here it is. Key West.
Okay. So Jim, you might put that in your motion.
I think there's a reason we put these out for bid, to get the lowest cost. And Key West, as I remember, has provided good service in the past, unless you'll have any better recollection than I do. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the lowest bid from Key West for a blanket liability.
And that's going to cover us everything you brought up tonight that we did motions.
That's everything.
Need a second.
Right.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Now we can ask you that question. That covered all the motions we need to take out of your business. Any further discussion? Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. Thank you, council. Thank you, Joe, appreciate you coming. Joe called us today and wanted to talk this business. Okay, alcohol license renewal, Sonny Underwood. You know, accidents and names comes in threes, so I wonder who the next Sonny's gonna be.
Beg your pardon?
Accidents and names comes in threes, so I wonder who the next Sonny is gonna be.
Alright, Mayor, council, if you'll note, I laid one of these on everybody's book, which is different than the one that's in your book, because it has one person who has paid since we got those made. And this is the current alcohol renewal. People, we have 12 that are renewing in December, which is this meeting, and we have 2 that I have not received any notice or anything from. And they have been notified, and this was all applications are hand delivered to them by me. So,
Okay, we have, did I see 31?
beg your pardon? Yeah.
And I think we're still small enough, I'd like for these to be read out for the record,
All right,
would you please?
yes. Dunn's Food Mart, Pat's Cafe, the one that changed is Shaman Convenience, Inc., Johnny's New York Style Pizza, Platinum Mountain View Sitco, Pueblo Cantina, Pueblo Grill Incorporated, Racetrack Petroleum, Tater Patch Players, The Last Catch, Trouts 2 and Trouts 1.
Covers the ones that are getting licensed this evening.
That's the ones that we need action on tonight.
Okay, we entertain a motion.
Do we approve license, alcohol license for these, how many are there? 8, 10,
Well,
12? For these 12 establishments?
Okay, second. Motion is second. Discussion? In the discussion, Sonny, if you would, tell the council who are the 2 that have not renewed, so that when it happens down the road, we'll have some history.
Madeline's Cafe and Bakery and Woodbridge.
Okay. Those are the ones that did not seek a new license.
No.
Okay. Any other discussion? Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. Thank you, council. Thank you, Sonny.
I have one other thing. We had the lady who is in charge, or owns Dos Margaritas now. She had come in to have her name put on instead of her husband who had it before.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have, the police department did a background check on her, and it said that there's nothing designated in the alcohol registered agent disqualifying her as an alcohol registered agent. So she will be the registered agent of Dos Margaritas now instead of her husband Raymond.
Okay. I think we should do this form of motion, to let her have the license change her name. Would entertain a motion?
Does, I'll make a motion.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Motion second. Discussion?
Does this need to be advertised as a new license?
Well, their license was in order until then, and I just had the police submit this to them. We did it kind of in a short form, I guess you'd say.
Mr. Pickett? It's okay without doing that, they have the existing license?
Changing the agent, you're not changing the licensee.
Okay.
The licensee is still in the name of that corporation.
Any other discussion? Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. Thank you, council. Thank you, Sonny. Item C, Mr. David Hall. Sewer system improvements. Council, I believe Lisa told me that she put a copy of the letter we hadn't been turned to. David, I'll give you my copy. Give it to him. I took it out and put it in my desk somewhere. Oh, here we go. We'll share this. Council, you might recall, the council members that are still here, a few years ago, we met with Mr. Ben Turnipseed in Woodstock and tried to discuss the future growth of our wastewater treatment plant, and the pricing scared us away. And it was at the time when the recession was beginning. That's been, what, 6, 7 years ago? At least,
It was 2007, 2008, probably.
closer to, okay.
We had the workshop and all.
Yes, and we put it off because we didn't see any growth or expansion at that time. And David, if you will, I'll turn it over to you, let you give council a little bit of update as to what has happened since and where we might want to move forward.
Our flow now at the wastewater plant is about 550,000 a day. It is starting to increase as the businesses are coming in, and our permit is 800,000 gallons a day. So I think we've got to a point now where we're either gonna have to, improve or actually upgrade and expand the wastewater plant, and that's what this is pertaining to, the anti-degradation review, environmental information document, and the design development report for turnkey to where we can, as it says here, take the plant on up to a 1.56 million gallons per day. This has been allotted to us to move forward, but there's a deadline on it. I don't know if it says.
It's a year, didn't it? 1 year?
Probably a year, maybe a year and a half, but we, this time we really do need to move forward.
Okay, David, tell the council a little bit about the watershed assessment that the council over the years has approved payment. I think we spent close to $100,000 with the RC doing the watershed assessment.
Yeah, and that puts us ahead in the game, having that assessment to where now, with our wastewater plant permit, we'll be able to move forward. If we had not done that over the years, then that would be another requirement along with these other three.
Council, in 1997, 1998, the EPD, EPA and EPD, had legislation, passed that said that all wastewater treatment facilities, in order to get a permit increase, had to have a watershed assessment. And at that particular time, no one knew how to do a watershed assessment or what it would entail. And several cities and water authorities paid for their own. And the city joined in with the Northwest Georgia and North Georgia RCs at the time in order to hire an engineer to do a watershed assessment for all of Northwest Georgia and North Georgia. And like the city of Canton and those larger facilities paid for their own. And we went through this process over 10 years trying to get our watershed assessment approved. And we had to go over again. We probably just hired Mr. Turnsley to have done it for us and had it done much quicker than it was done. But finally, we got that finished. And we've been quite happy and satisfied with a 0.8 million gallons per day permit. But we are at the end, I think, of the Great Recession, and we probably are going to have a demand on our wastewater treatment plant as we've not seen in the past. Is that what you meant to say, David?
Yeah, I mean, we're just to the point now where the facility we have, we're gonna stay in the leachate business, which we know is a moneymaker, and, continue to grow, even, normal growth. We're not talking about, 1.56 is not gonna, allow us to grow like Canton or Cherokee County, whatever, but it is gonna allow us to grow in smart growth, but without it, we're gonna come to a point where, because even if you start this tonight, you're probably looking 3 to 4 years down the road before you'd actually be able to do 1.56 million.
Okay, and we're looking at how many $1 million this project expected to cost?
Probably in the neighborhood, a lot of it, the last time was some, lift station improvements and stuff like that, we could do probably on our own, anywhere from 4 to 6 million.
If you recall, council, that, Mr. Lemke, that's what kind of got us concerned, because 5 or 6 million could absolutely devastate our customer base, with the new rates.
Yes.
So, But as we said then, we could move forward and we could always stop at any time. But at the time, we were still waiting on our watershed assessment plan, and there was no reason to move forward until that got approved, because the EPD would not give us a permit increase. But with this, if you will, again, tell the council what anti-degradation review and environmental information document and development report with these costs Mr. Turnipseed has listed.
Basically, it's letting EPD know the whole plan that the city's gonna do up front and how we're gonna achieve, because with this, them allowing you to have this 1.56 million permit, you're still at the same time, you're gonna have to meet all kinds of regulations, unbelievable regulations actually, that have went down probably, I don't know, where we used to be able to do a 10, now we're able to do a 1. I mean, that's how.
10 1 what?
Say BOD, for instance, TSS, ammonia concentration, which you used to be able to do 5 part per million back into the stream, it's gonna go down to 1 part per million. So all of the regulations that have been handed down are a whole lot more tougher than they were, say, even 10 years ago.
Okay. And Lisa, did we budget this type of improvement in our water and sewer budget? Could we find it?
Not this specific.
Not specifically.
Yeah.
Actually, we didn't have it, and actually, I was at a meeting with David and Mr. Turnipseed, when David asked Ben if he would consider moving forward this, if we're going to ever obtain a permit increase.
Yeah, because we lose it again, I mean, you know, it's gonna be hard to obtain again to be able to, you know, go to 1.56.
Okay, what about the, throwing this to the council as well, the council 4 or 5 years ago spent 1.5 million on the wastewater treatment plant improvement.
Improvements, yeah, that was all for phosphorus removal, and the phosphorus removal itself was like a, you know, a mandated thing that they put on cities with no money. And they said, hey, you're gonna, all of a sudden now you're gonna treat phosphorus, because of the last drought we had, 2007, they come in and said, okay, now your permit limit was this on phosphorus, now it's this. That was one of those that went from a 1 or a 5 to a 1, and the only way you can meet it is by turning your plant not only to a microbiological plant, but to a chemical plant, where we not only have to keep the organisms alive, but we also have to flock the wastewater just like you do water, to get the limits down low enough to whenever it goes back into the stream that you're not out of permit.
And we haven't discussed this, but for the council's information, explain a little bit about the degree, temperature of the wastewater discharge that you may be facing in the future.
Yeah, along with this, we'll have to maintain the stream to where downstream the Polecat Creek does not increase over 1 degree centigrade downstream of our discharge. So you'll have to measure the temperature upstream, measure at the discharge and downstream, and if you're increasing the temperature, then that will be a fine.
So we would have to look at some way of refrigerating the water before it goes back into the stream.
Refrigeration or
Possibly even heated.
possibly some type of, you know, a lake on site that you can draw off of at different levels, or like you had talked about, you know, put it in a golf course or something maybe.
For land application.
Yes.
But with all that, council, is just a little briefing of the public meeting, or the workshop that we had years ago. But with that, David's asking this evening that we go back into our budget amendment, probably January or February, and notify Mr. Turnipseed to proceed with the anti-degradation review, the environmental information document, and design development report, which gets us to that point, but we still don't have to jump off to $4 million to $5 million until we can afford it in years to come, but have it all ready to go. And because we're at, you said 0.5, 0.6.
0.5 and yeah, you know, 0.55, and then, you know, we've seen a lot of months averages right up at 0.6, so.
So we're 200,000 having to say, you know, we can't take on any more customers. So,
And we have quite a few, you know, the town, you know, the apartments over here, and then a few other things going on, so, I mean, I'm sure we'll be up 0.6 this year probably. So, yeah, it's.
so we have enough to grow for the foreseeable future, but for down the road, for 5 to 10 years later, we need to be moving forward.
Yes.
Okay. We need any questions, council, before I ask for a motion? Would entertain a motion?
Motion, we approve, funds from the water department.
Have those numbers for me. 12,575, I've got it, $30,000, how about a round number?
35,000?
30, 30,000 every time we have a meeting. Okay. I have a motion to approve the,
Somebody do the math on there, you know? 12, 5, 7, 5, and 15,
that's more than that, is.
it's 35,000.
Jim, you were right. Carry it through. Okay.
Never question an accountant on anything. True. Never question an
Do I
accountant.
have a motion for the 35,000 expenditures of Turnseed Engineers to proceed with the 3 projects that he proposed?
3 project studies.
So 1, 2, 3 parts of this letter. Was that a motion, Jim?
Yeah.
Motion and a second. Discussion? Being none, all in favor, vote by show of hands. Thank you, council. Thank you, David. Are you going back?
Yeah, I'll get it out.
Tell the council, give the council an update on what happened today.
We had a, crew installing, fiber optic line on the railroad today, cut right through our, 8-inch water line. That was the
Also the case.
Yeah. And they split the line going back up into the casing. So we're gonna have to redo the line in the casing, so we're trying to get 2 temporary valves on either side where people are under cutting it hot and the people in Arbor Hills will make hot, so that's what we're working on now.
How close do you think we
Arbor
are?
Hills should already be hot, I don't know about the lumber company road side, but it shouldn't be, it doesn't matter if it's 1 or 20, but it shouldn't be 1 or 2 people on lumber company that's not already hot. But, we'll get everybody hopefully here in a little while.
I'll see you shortly.
And I suppose that the contractor will get a bill for this?
It was one of those lines that was laid by a contractor, and he didn't lay as close to where we had located as we had thought. And so I don't know, it'll be close on whether they're responsible or we're responsible, to be honest about it.
My guess will be not. Because I think they would have cut us if we'd been to another location as well, but, we're going to have plenty of opportunity to deal with this company because we're heading toward downtown Jasper. They're going to cross Hood Road, Industrial Boulevard, into Hood Road, Main Street, Ridgewood. We're going to have plenty of opportunity to cut more water lines, so.
I heard that one doctor was paying for all of that.
This line has been paid for by a doctor, name I don't know. Cancer research, they're wanting a dedicated line from the east to California, is what the guy told me today, and I was too busy watching the water run to pay as much attention to what he was saying, but it's quite the project.
Yes, I'm surprised they got approval to do it.
Thank you, David.
Okay. Before we get into mayor's report, can I ask you a couple of questions?
Got a point of order, Mr. Councilman Looney.
Does that say I can go?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we just start talking.
Make me hush. The personnel committee, has it had an opportunity to meet, and do we have any update on that? All right. And I think that's all I have.
I think we're going to try to do it by next month. Thank you, Jim. Economic development report, during next call.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm pleased to be with you this evening. I guess I'd like to start by telling Councilman Walker congratulations, and it's a pleasure to see you. And again, I'm looking forward to working with you on projects as we move forward. Congratulations. Couple things I want to share with you this evening. One is that we've received a copy of the draft study from Emily Horn. So it went to the Downtown Alliance Steering Committee. They reviewed it for errors, omissions, things such as that. We had a meeting that followed that the mayor participated in, and that review did not indicate any thing. The next step will be they will provide a final draft of that report. It's a 50-page report, so probably a lot of the distribution, it may be best through electronic means, but there will be paper copies available. One of the other action items that we discussed also at that Downtown Alliance meeting was kind of going back to some of the initiatives that we had looked at earlier on. If you recall, before we really got heavily involved in the traffic study, we were talking about things to improve the downtown and bring more people in. We talked about awnings, we talked about signage, we talked about gateways up on 515. So I think this coming year, we're going to spend a little bit of time very early looking at those things and establishing some priorities and seeing how we can help move those things forward. You know, there's always a lot of concern about the downtown. A couple business owners are retiring, things such as that, and that's causing the other business owners to have some concern. So anything that we can do to help keep downtown viable, help bring people into downtown to patronize those businesses, we're certainly going to do that. The other thing I wanted to share along those lines is the BMX and Frisbee or disc golf course that is talked about up on the north end of the county. That plan has been completed. The property owner is looking at taking the next steps. So that's moving forward very nicely. A lot of these things have a very long lead time, but that one is moving forward. And they do have some funds that they're willing to invest in that. And again, I think it's a great asset. When we talk about bringing people into the community, we have to give them a reason to come here. That's something that I think will have a lot of appeal for both visitors as well as our residents. The last thing I wanted to share with you is that, this time of year, things generally start to slow down from an activity standpoint, but things start to pick up from a planning standpoint. So, for example, at our Economic Development Council meeting, the chairman asked the membership to think about maybe some initiatives for the upcoming year, some concrete items to work on. Likewise, the Chamber Board is having their retreat on Friday. We'll be talking about the same types of things. What can we do in the upcoming year to help our community and help our business community? So again, even though that the activity level is slowing down, the activity as far as planning and getting ready for 2017 is ramping up. So that's what I wanted to share this evening, unless there's any questions which I would like to answer.
Council? Thank you, Jerry.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Sherry.
Lisa, financial report?
In your books, I've enclosed the finance report for November of 16. I'll start with the general fund. We had in lost funds, which is sales tax funds, current month, $95,135, which is an increase over last year. The same month, it would be October paid in November of $86,587. Our year-to-date, $975,598 versus $959,549 last year.
And that's a local option system.
And we're currently under budget in the general fund. Well
Did you
under
have
budget.
some SPOS numbers?
Alice,
Pardon? I knew you called long, but SPOS is 5% less.
yes. SPOS, we received in the current month, which is October money, received in November, $74,036, which comes year-to-date of $816,592, which is compared to last year's same month, $67,383, year-to-date $746,678. We currently have a cash balance in that account of $261,679. Average that we've received over the year, you average all the months, $68,967. The technology surcharge account, last this is not reflected in this report because we've not paid the bill yet, but, Andrew purchased, the police department purchased, several more cameras for the city, a little over $3,000 worth. They had a big Black Friday sale. Confiscated assets fund, there's no activity there. Hotel motel tax fund shows, that we have a net profit in there, but that, a lot of that will be paid out, in January of 2017 for the fourth quarter of this year. Fund 320, SPOS, the old SPOS is closed. Fund 505, our water and sewer fund. It looks like we're a little low in the revenue, but we're actually at 90 or 91% because we had budgeted, as compared to budget, we had budgeted, for the hazard mitigation grant, generators for this year. And now we've moved it into the next year, so that made that look a little low. And we're right at budget on the expenditures, 90% of our budget, and we should be at 91.67%. Fund 540, our sanitation fund, we're showing a little revenue, but I actually supported $22,500 we paid into that fund for the water fund to keep it supported, which was budgeted for. And municipal court, by year end, it'll be zeroed out and we get all our bookings made, but I know November hasn't been paid out, all the agencies in the general fund that was did pay out of that fund. And that's all I had. Oh, also attached in there, I've included October and November's checks written over $5,000. I think last month I had forgotten to bring October, so we put that's included by fund. And nothing really unusual, a lot of unexpected payroll, health insurance. We had to buy a lot of chemicals with a water sewer plant. She's included that in the general fund, I'm not sure why. Well, we actually wrote the check out of the general fund, that's why that. And below transfers, November, we had to work on one of the vehicles, 55, almost 5,600. That was a Ford F-450 in the Charlotte's department and Crown Vic in the police department we had to work on. I think everything else is kind of self-explanatory. If y'all don't have any questions, that's all I had.
Questions, Council?
On the splosh, our beginning balance, 335,000, and right now it's sitting at 261. That beginning balance did not include the December of 68,000, right?
No, that's actually what was in our cash account at the bank at that date.
So our splosh fund is down about $70,000 from where
Yeah.
we started last year.
Mhm.
Primarily a product of getting more projects done, or our deposits.
We have a lot of
dropping?
paving.
Yeah, I'm gonna get an update on that for you as soon as money comes up here.
Okay.
And it's, well, she didn't list the actual project. Well, sometimes she did. Traffic marking, she listed the project, but we've had a big expenditure in October for Northwest Georgia paving, 402, 927, that was Cold Road. But yeah,
All the
Lonnie
all the
did
roads, Cove Road.
more.
I thought it was more than that. Jim called that number, that kind of surprised me because we started out with like 600,000-700,000.
We've spent a lot on paving this year.
Any other questions, council? Do you have any more questions?
This is what, second year of the splosh? Third?
Started mid-13, or mid-14.
So it started
Yeah,
like in
'cause it's
July.
14 blocks, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, council? Thank you. Animal control and other, I'm going to add et cetera.
Mayor, council. As you see, the animal control still staying stable as low. There has been some issues with large dogs going from the Burger King property, post office over to the industrial park. Matt from the county animal control has been assisting me with that when I was doing other duties. He has trapped one. He got a call today while I was on the water leak, or I got a call and I forwarded it to him. And he went out today, I haven't got a response from him, to know if he got those trapped or not. And then, we're still having ducks get injured over the duck pond. And I check on them, but there's not much you can do, because when you try to catch one, it goes to the center of the lake. And so, I am responding, but sometimes there's just nothing you can do. So, other than that,
Council, you all recall, we have a new council member, we get this report because back in the day, when we first established animal control, it was quite entertaining report that we have each month. It's getting to be less. So I've added the other DOT projects, just talk about the decel lane in front of the Jasper Middle School.
okay, hopefully next week, we're gonna be meeting with the gas company. There's a gas line that has to be moved. I do have it located and everything, and that's what they were waiting on. And if we can get a price or find out who's gonna move it, or how it's gonna be moved, or the financials of it, then, we are looking forward to getting that moved over. And, the DOT has indicated that they would work with us and we get a decel lane or a turning lane in front of the old high school or Jasper, middle school. And hopefully that will help traffic for a while.
Council, you recall that, goes back years where we traded the Board of Education sewer tile and fees for property in front of the school in order to do this, and this goes back several years. We're getting close to the deadline for our time. And we had Georgia Power and Telephone to move the lines from the front of the school to the other side of the road. So it's been evolving. This was also by name, which is coincidental in this situation, rapid response project. It's only been a 10-year rapid response project. But if that were to happen, next year we would be able to encourage traffic to turn onto Holly Street and use Spring and Holly and potential other project we've talked about, which was something that kind of led us to the Downtown Alliance with the traffic stuff. With that, Lonnie, let's talk a little bit about New Year's Eve.
Okay, I have got things, moving forward with that. The crane's in place, the fireworks contract's been signed, deposit made on that. I have some food vendors coming in because, we had those, like some food trucks last year that went over very well. I have not talked with a gentleman at Wingsology, but I've heard that he's gonna be open. We've got a DJ, the deposit been made toward him. I've had a company contact me with some more events. We've got a few sponsors that's willing to donate some money to handle this cost.
And you're working with the chamber?
I have worked with Jerry and Tina as far as advertisements, and they're assisting me very well with that, so I think I'm looking forward as far as that, looking forward to another New Year's Eve night.
Will this be our fourth or third? Fourth.
This will be the fourth.
Wow. Okay. Questions, council?
Mayor, one other thing is, I'm in contact with the DOT. They are gonna be changing the red lights on Main Street.
Yes.
And also at St. McGee Boulevard in front of the community bank. They're going to be putting up some poles with arms.
Mass arms.
And they're going to be doing some boring and, encasing some wiring in a 7-inch, conduit in under the intersections. We're trying to make sure that they don't hit a water line or sewer line or something like that. So, I'm working with them, trying to assure those utilities are not hit if we can at all.
If they had a utility there, 1931 vintage, you'd probably do $10,000 worth of improvement.
And also the DOT is, sending up a group to do a study on Cove Road. They have some kind of vehicle that reads, all kinds of measurements going up and down Cove Road as far as large truck traffic and things like that. So we, the city and county should be getting a report on that, a little bit later.
And we probably have to be reasonable.
What exactly is that study for?
Excuse me?
What is that study for?
Large truck traffic, the safety issues, whatever. I just learned of this today, and I don't have all the details, but, there will be trucks going up through there with, equipment, computer equipment, things, studying the road. Nothing's gonna be done immediately, but they will be over there working.
Is it concern over particularly bus traffic going up there?
Excuse me?
Is that concern over bus traffic?
I'm not sure, like, I just found out about this today, and I don't have all the details, but, you know, the study, I think it's supposed to start in a couple of weeks or right after Christmas or something.
You know, the commissioner, and if we're talking about Cove Road, has been on myself at his county meetings for years to move the city limits line to the top of the hill where the city has property on both sides of the road. And we'll probably address the council with that probably February or March, annexing the road in to the top of the hill to accommodate the commissioner's request. And of course, that would give us, of course, it's our land on the left side where the mines are, but we'll be approaching with that soon. Thank you, Ron. Chief Lovell. Please report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. City of Jasper Police Department for the month of November 2016 responded to 693 calls for service from the 911 center, responded to 44 motor vehicle accidents, issued a total of 67 citations, the following: 1 DUI, 43 speeding, 4 shoplifting, 1 reckless driving, 16 miscellaneous violations, and 2 suspended over the book. Georgia State Patrol issued a total of 95 citations for a grand total in city court 162. Took 16 state warrants for the following: 2 theft by taking misdemeanor, 5 shoplifting misdemeanor, 3 shoplifting felony, driving on suspended license misdemeanor, furnishing alcohol to underage person misdemeanor, driving on expired license misdemeanor, underage possession misdemeanor, and allowing unlicensed driver to operate motor vehicle misdemeanor, and 1 criminal trespass. Miscellaneous calls responded to: 27 alarm calls, 12 disorderly calls, 13 arrestments, 4 trespassing or ordering, 61 suspicious activity, 24 domestic disputes, investigated 0 burglaries.
Questions, council? One parade.
1 burglary.
And I know you're looking forward to New Year's Eve.
Oh, shoot.
Thank you.
Hey, just one highlight.
Thank God.
Chief Rowe.
Already followed that meeting, Steve.
The Hill Tribe.
I'll do my best. Good evening, Mayor, Council. Congratulations, Councilman Proctor. For the month of November, the city's fire department responded to 117 calls. Those were 1 structure fire inside the city limits, 1 outside, 2 vehicle fires inside the city, none outside, 5 grass or brush fires inside the city, 6 outside, 12 motor vehicle accidents with injuries inside, none outside, 27 emergency medical responses inside, 25 outside the city. Excuse me. 18 other calls inside, 20 outside. That number's higher because of the Cahutta fire. There was a ton of smoke investigations and things like that. We were running 6 or 8 calls a day chasing smoke. That's why that number's high. As of the end of November, it was 176 for the year. Fire inspection looked at no plans or construction or renovation during the month, and then 14 inspections.
Questions, council? Thank you, Chief. Council, just an update, which there was nothing on the agenda pertaining to the negotiations with the well project pool property. I did, present to Mr. Pickett as well as give to the pools a draft of, the city's request and what we would provide to them. A copy of that will be available for you upon request. We've not heard from buyer one, but I think it's because of the weather and the conditions that, of the pasture, that we would have to have the heavy trucks. So as soon as the weather permits, we will begin the pump test. And, Lonnie didn't mention it, but I have him sort of scouting out, a mountain trail that could bring an 8-inch water main, maybe a 10-inch water main from Marble Hill to the Cove Mines. We'll have all that information for you, in the very near future. John, JYSA update?
I still going strong, wrestling's going on, still got all the, cheerleading at their, Duke Monroe High School last month, that went well, they're still going through the winter, baseball, getting wrapped up as they like to run.
Okay. And there's gonna be some changes taking place with the baseball, which I've not met with, leadership since my previous meeting. Have you heard anything on this?
They're still trying to work will out the, it's gonna be something different, so.
Council, what we're talking about is something that, we decided we're talking about a secret, but it's, they're talking about a new league for, more advanced play in baseball, and it was very exciting, and it looks like that we won't quite have the workload that we've had in the past trying to maintain the schedule that JYSA has had, and because I think we're going to transfer more of that business to the county program. Is that correct, John? Am I on the right track? Or we'll have more?
Well, they'll be a little bit more for the first year or so, try to just get the builds up to,
Yeah, I was convinced it would be a lot less work. Okay. But with that, we look forward to it. With that, no other business coming to the council, would entertain a motion. Thank you, council. Thank you, guests, for coming this evening.